Episode 1. Michaela's POV. My legs wouldn't stop bouncing. My fingers kept fidgeting with the sleek leather seat, tracing little circles just so I wouldn't squeal out loud. I was in the freaking UAE in a black limo with a man I barely knew. Smart, Michaela. Brilliant life choices. My heart was pounding, but not the way it should when you're supposedly kidnapped. No screaming, no begging for mercy. Nope. Just me, grinning like an idiot in the back of a limo in the UAE. I couldn't decide if I should laugh or cry, so I just bit my lip and muttered under my breath. Doesn't seem so bad when I say it like that. Kidnapped by a billionaire. Honestly, of all the reckless things I'd ever done, and there had been plenty, this one definitely topped the list. The weirdest part? I wasn't scared. Not really. More like giddy. My cheeks warmed as I sank back against the leather. God, the car smelled like money. I had such a soft spot for good cars. Are you okay, Habibti? His voice cut through my thoughts, smooth, calm, like it carried its own gravity. I turned toward him, heat rushing to my face. Of course he'd noticed me squirming. Saeed's POV. She looked like a trapped butterfly in that seat, delicate, restless, yet oddly fearless. She said she was nervous, but I wasn't convinced. If she were truly afraid, she wouldn't have devoured half the dishes on my jet. I still remembered her wide-eyed gasp when the chef rolled in the menu. She had tried to be polite at first, ordering something simple. But then, one by one, she gave in. I'd watched her taste everything. Seafood risotto, lamb skewers, even the saffron ice cream with such innocent delight that it amused me more than it should have. Now, as the limo glided through the neon-lit streets, I studied her again. She was blushing, probably remembering the same thing. Somehow, I don't think you're uncomfortable at all, I said lightly, letting the corner of my mouth curve. She was blushing again. I didn't need to ask why. I'd already read her. The way she squirmed in her seat, the way her fingers danced over the leather, it wasn't fear. It was thrill. She didn't know it, but I had been studying her the entire time. Every reaction, every smile, every time she tried to hide her pleasure behind a napkin. Now she sat here, pretending to be nervous, yet glowing. You looked more terrified of the saffron ice cream than of me, I murmured, leaning back in my seat, and you still finished it. She blushed again. It was nice. I enjoyed it. Oh, I can tell. I know. You express everything you feel, Dabdoopty. I came closer to her. Facing her, I poked her nose softly and affectionately. She couldn't stop. Michaela's POV. 92 hours earlier, I woke up feeling optimistic. I was positivity at its peak. I finally got a job. Not a great one, but can fully cover my expenses for the month and give me a little treat every once in a while. A job in a high-end boutique. Noemi. Even the name spells elegance and grace. I walked to the mirror placed at the wall adjacent her bed. I placed my deep auburn hair in a bun. Her deep green eyes had a shade of deep green. If there was something she was fully grateful of her parents for while looking at the mirror, it would be her looks, especially her Celtic mother for the skin and the contrasted eye color. While growing up till now, people literally stop and stare. She sighed. Oh well, beauty most of the time doesn't pay the bills. Michaela packed up for the day. She left the house, ecstatic, humming to herself. Mrs. Rosalia, the manager, gave her the uniform. She was a tall woman who could have been mistaken for a model in her earlier years. She had soft, warm eyes, but a hard face. You bragged your way into being my fashion stylist? Mrs. Rosalia huffed. Michaela almost objected to say, I didn't brag, I showed you practically, but offending your boss is not the best way to start a job, so she held her lips. A customer walked in, a young lady in her mid-20s. You start now, she muttered, using her eyes to tell her to attend to the young lady. Michaela smiled brightly. She loved her job. She asked some questions to find out what the lady needed, and they hit it off. It was a few minutes past noon. Michaela didn't check the time when, after attending to a customer, she turned to speak to Rosalia about how she wanted a 12 p.m. lunch break instead of one. Rosalia nodded, trying to not offend her. This was the first time all her customers had been happy with her choice, and even got more according to Mika's advice. Her doors opened, revealing her favorite customer. He only came when he was in town, which was twice a year. Her eyes shone, ready to flaunt her worker's talent. She smiled widely at Mika, making Mika cringe. I agree. Someone special just walked in. Please attend to him. He is a VVIP. Mika rolled her eyes and turned. She froze on her feet. She couldn't stop staring at the man who just walked in. He was the most beautiful man she had ever laid her eyes on. She couldn't call him handsome. It would be an insult to his overwhelming looks, his height, his eyes, his build. He belonged in a freaking museum as the 9th wonder of the world. Come on, run along, Rosalia said, bringing her back to the present. She walked towards him and looked up at him. My, was he tall? She mentally screamed. And she was a 5'8", yet he seemed tall to her. What would you like, sir? A suit. Specific, she smiled to herself. His voice was warm, yet deep. A deep baritone. Normally, she didn't overreact internally like this. She felt like a cheerleader. She took a deep breath. Over here, sir, she said using an official tone. She might never see him. Plus, there will be a lot of other men dressed like $1 million. She shook her head mentally. Michaela, back to work mode. She spoke to herself. Money won't make itself. She walked him to a VIP boutique area. What color would you prefer? What event is it for? He gave her a quick glance. One could be for a ball, a tux. Then I need 5 more for just work. She nodded and picked according to her taste. She picked a good changing room in the VIP section and hung her choices there. There was a mirror in it for him to see which he preferred. She came out to see him standing a 5-step distance away from the door. Holding the door, she gestured him in. As you wear them, one by one, please hit this buzzer so I can come in for inspection and maybe to perfect the look. He didn't say anything, so she left him to it. He buzzed any time he finished. On the 4th one, she came in and squinted her eyes at the dress. Something is missing, she said, looking at him from head to toe. It clicked, and she went to the rack and picked pocket filler from another set. She gulped as she got closer to him. Needs a finishing touch, she said shyly. She went close to him and placed it his chest pocket on the suit. She felt his eyes on her. She looked up. Saeed felt like he was sinking deep into those eyes. Your eyes are beautiful, Habibti. Her face was flushed, but just like him, she couldn't stop looking deep into his eyes. She knew to others, his eyes seemed cold and dark as ink. But to her, those eyes were the eyes of a strong man, powerful and capable to love. She wanted something from him. She just couldn't. A knock brought them back. Saeed, are you in there? We need to go. It's about Talia. I need to go, he said, heading out. Take all of them, he told his secretary before he left. Mika rolled her eyes at herself, staring at the mirror. She spoke inwardly. Yes, of course. A man like that doesn't have a girlfriend. Wouldn't that be more than crazy? To actually believe that even for a second. She stared at herself in the mirror. Seems I'm the fool, she said dejectedly. When she got off work, she hurriedly left. Her phone rang as she walked to her car. Her face gleamed on seeing the icon on her screen. She drove immediately to their favorite pub. Hey, she half shouted as she saw Kathleen Rompier, her best friend since childhood. They lived in New York all their life. They lived together, but she didn't know why she misses her so quickly. It seemed they were sisters in another life. Unlike Mika, who had it rough as an orphan, Kathleen was a daughter of one of the biggest businessmen in the city. Kathleen was the only girl out of 4 kids in her family. Although she was the 3rd child, her youngest brother also treated her like she was a queen. Kathleen loved Mika. Mika was like the sister she never had. They stayed together for 6 years now. I felt like I needed to relax. Just had to ask you out here, Micah said, looking flushed. Squinting her eyes, Kathleen stared at her and used her eyes to gesture. There is something here. What? Mika tried to sound aloof, looking at everywhere but Kathleen's eyes. She was an easy book to read when it came to her. So who is he? The waiter brought the drinks and placed them on the table. He left, and Kathleen turned to her again, raising a brow. Wow, my favorite drink, Mika said, all of a sudden fascinated with the drink, but Kathleen knew she was trying to avoid the talk. Kathleen rolled her eyes. I know you are dying to tell me, so get along with it. Mika's eyes gleamed. I think I've met the one. Kathleen rolled her eyes. If she wanted to count how many times she had rolled her eyes at the same words coming out from Mika, she wondered why her eyes haven't gone inward. What makes you so sure? His eyes. Wow, great point, Kathleen said sarcastically. Mika huffed. I know I sound silly, but I just felt it. Kathleen shrugged. I don't think I can believe it. Let's just leave it to time. So, how did you two meet? Mika gushed and told her everything. Wow, so he might actually not be single-ish? He told me I have beautiful eyes. He called me Habibti. I see. Kathleen nodded grimly, as if given a powerful information. Mika baby frowned and said in a baby voice, I'm not saying any other thing. Kathleen mimicked her am so-y, then in a normal voice. So apart from meeting your destiny, what else happened? Kathleen smiled as her over-dramatic Mika told her word for word how the whole day went. She loved that Mika was doing what she really loved. She had had to pull some strings to get Mika that position in one of her father's partner's company, but Mika made it all worth it in the end. She earned it. By the time Michaela and Kathleen got home, exhaustion pressed down on them like a weight. Mika immediately went to her room. She collapsed onto her bed, eager to let the day vanish into sleep. Just as her eyes fluttered shut, her phone rang. The screen flashed, "Unknown number." "Groggy," she answered. "It's me." The voice was smooth, controlled, silk-laced with steel. Him. Michaela shot upright, her heart thudding. "How did you get my number?" "You left it in the system when you registered at the boutique," Saeed replied, his tone maddeningly casual. "Why?" she said, baffled. "I was curious. As if billionaires picked up the phone and called boutique assistants out of idle curiosity." "You didn't even say goodbye," she blurted before she could stop herself. A low chuckle rumbled through the line, rich and unsettling. "You noticed?" "Of course I noticed," she snapped, then instantly regretted the edge in her voice. But he didn't bristle. Instead, amusement colored his tone. "Good. I like that you notice things." Michaela bit her lip, thrown off balance. "So, what do you want?" "To see you again," Saeed said simply. "Tomorrow. I'll send a car." And before she could argue, the line went dead, leaving her staring at the phone, breathless and shaken. She fell asleep. The next morning, as early as 8 Sao, an SUV was parked outside waiting for her. Kathleen came into her room after hearing her talking to someone outside. "Who was that?" "A driver. He sent a driver to pick me up." Kathleen's jaw almost dropped. "The guy from yesterday. He moves fast." She was glad this guy seemed to want to see her. Most times, Mika was in over her head. She is beautiful, but she is a bundle of energy, and most men can't deal with it. She hoped this one would be able to. Today, Mika dressed so beautifully like a doll. A beautiful, soft, deep orange gown. It hugged her waist, then flared. Mika looked at the dress approvingly and walked out of the house. The chauffeur opened the door for her. It was a quiet drive to Le Chateau. The SUV pulled smoothly into the long, winding driveway of Le Chateau, its lantern-lit arches casting golden pools of light over the gravel path. Michaela's lips parted in awe as the sprawling estate came into view. The door opened, revealing Saeed. He held it open for her. Le Chateau looked less like a restaurant and more like something plucked straight from an old-world painting. Ivy climbing the stone walls, marble steps leading up to a carved wooden door, and just beyond it, the faint trickle of water. But instead of being guided to the main dining hall, Saeed led her away through a manicured garden that seemed too perfect to be real. Lanterns glowed along the path, each one framed by rose bushes. At the heart of it, a fountain whispered, its crystalline waters sparkling under the moonlight. Beside it stood a small glass house, its walls transparent and glimmering, filled with candles that gave off a warm, golden glow. Inside, a table was set for two. Michaela gasped softly. "This is... wow!" Saeed only inclined his head, as if such things were ordinary to him. He pulled out her chair, and once she sat, he lowered himself into the opposite seat with effortless grace. Dinner was light but decadent. Fresh bread, delicate cuts of salmon, saffron rice, tiny jeweled desserts. But it wasn't the food that held her attention. It was him. The way his eyes watched her like he was trying to read between her words. The way he leaned back yet remained entirely present. "So," she began nervously fiddling with her fork, what do you want from me?" The question slipped out before she could stop herself. Her cheeks flamed. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then his lips curved faintly. "Your company." She blinked. "My company?" "Yes," he said simply, voice deep, steady. "You amuse me. You don't try to impress me. You speak your mind, laugh too easily, and you're unafraid to look me in the eye. Most people..." His gaze drifted, almost dark. "Most people want something from me. Money, power, influence. But you..." His eyes softened just enough. "You're different." Michaela let out a shaky laugh. "That's kind of unbelievable. Most men complain I talk too much." "I like it," he said without hesitation. "I like your energy. I like everything about you, Habibti." She ducked her head, heart racing. For some reason, his approval felt heavier than the richest diamond. The wine loosened her tongue further, and soon she was spilling stories. About Kathleen, her best friend who'd practically raised her, about losing her parents young, about scraping through college and working odd jobs just to survive. She told him about New York winters, about sneaking into jazz bars, about her guilty obsession with pancakes at 2 a.m. Saeed listened, never interrupting, his expression unreadable yet utterly focused. When she finally paused, she realized her throat was dry, and she'd been rambling for nearly half an hour. "Oh God," she groaned, covering her face with her hands. "I just dumped my whole life story on you, didn't I?" He reached across the table and gently pried her hand down. "No," he said softly. "You shared yourself with me, and that, Michaela, is rare." Something about the way he said her name made her stomach flutter dangerously. Later, as the SUV glided back to her apartment, Michaela sat in silence, still processing everything. The ride ended too soon, and when the chauffeur opened her door, Saeed himself stepped out, walking her to the front. Kathleen was already at the window, frowning in confusion. By the time Michaela unlocked the door, Kathleen was standing there in her pajamas, arms crossed. The moment the SUV disappeared, Kathleen rounded on her, eyes wide. "Michaela, do you even know who that was?" Michaela blinked. "Yeah, Saeed, he's just... Kathleen clutched her head like Michaela had lost her mind. "That's not just any man. That is Saeed Al-Hassan. He's not only one of the wealthiest men in the UAE, he's practically untouchable. Old money, new money, every kind of money. And you're telling me he just dropped you off like you're..." "Like I'm what?" Michaela whispered, heart pounding. Kathleen's grin spread slowly, wickedly. "Like you're the one he's already claimed." Michaela stood frozen at the door, Saeed's words echoing in her mind. "I like everything about you, Habibti." As the SUV disappeared down the street, Michaela hugged herself, her heart still drumming like wild wings. She didn't care who he was. All she knew was this: she'd see him again, and she couldn't wait. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more.
NIZZY NOIR, signing out.